There's something that victims of narcissists do that seems strange to the outside world, but makes complete sense when you understand what really happened. They avoid receiving visitors at home as if it were a matter of life or death. And in a way, that's exactly what it is. If you're one of those people who feels a knot in your stomach just thinking about someone ringing your doorbell, who makes excuses not to receive family and friends, who prefers to meet people anywhere but in your own home, you're not crazy. You're not antisocial. You're not rude. You're protecting something that cost blood, sweat, and tears to achieve, your peace of mind. Today, I'm going to explain exactly why this happens, using Wayne Dyer's teachings and the science behind narcissistic trauma. I'm going to show you why your home became your sacred temple, and why any invasion, even well-intentioned, awakens in you a reaction that seems disproportionate to others. But before we continue, I want you to know something important. Everything you feel is valid. Every reaction, every fear, every need for protection makes absolute sense when we understand what you went through. Wayne Dyer always said that our home is the reflection of our soul. For those who survived narcissistic abuse, this home became more than a house. It became the only place in the world where you can simply exist without masks, without performances, without fear. And when someone threatens to invade this sacred space, your nervous system triggers all the danger alarms that were calibrated during years of emotional trauma. Because deep down, your mind still associates people in your intimate space with potential threat to your mental sanity. I'm going to tell you something that Wayne Dyer discovered after years studying trauma survivors. Our home isn't just where we live. It's where our soul takes refuge to heal wounds that the world can't see. When you were in the abusive relationship, your home was a battlefield. Every room carried memories of humiliations, screaming, manipulations. The kitchen table where you were ridiculed, the bedroom where your tears soaked the pillow night after night, the living room where you walked on eggshells, trying not to awaken the narcissist's fury. Now that you've left that situation, you've transformed every corner of this space into an altar of healing. Every object was chosen by you. Every color on the wall reflects your true personality. Every fragrance in the air carries your energy, not the toxicity of the one who hurt you. Your home became your emotional womb, where you're being reborn as the person you truly are. And then comes someone wanting to visit. Even if it's family, even if it's dear friends, this person represents an unconscious threat to your healing process. Because deep down, a part of you still believes you need to perform. Please, be perfect. The narcissist conditioned you to believe that your home needed to always be impeccable for visitors, that you needed to smile even when you were destroyed inside, that the most important thing was to keep up appearances, not your mental sanity. That's why, when someone announces they're coming to visit, your whole body freezes. Your mind triggers an infinite list of worries. Is the house clean enough? Will I be able to maintain a conversation? What if I'm not well that day? What if they notice I'm still recovering? Wayne Dyer taught that our home should be our sanctuary of authenticity, a place where we can be vulnerable, imperfect, human. But when we suffer narcissistic abuse, our capacity to be authentic gets severely damaged. You learned that being vulnerable is dangerous, that showing imperfections is giving ammunition to the enemy, that being human is being weak. Now tell me, what city are you watching this video from? Leave it there in the comments, because I want to know where the brave people who are facing this healing journey with me are. But returning to our subject, there's something even deeper happening when you reject visits. There's a fear that haunts every victim of a narcissist and that few dare to admit: the terror of having to perform again. For years, you were forced to be an actor in the narcissist's theatrical play. Your entire life became a carefully orchestrated spectacle to maintain the perfect image he wanted to project to the world. You smiled when you were shattered inside. You pretended harmony when there was war. You represented the happy family when you lived a nightmare. Wayne Dyer said that our greatest prison isn't physical bars, but the emotional performances we force ourselves to maintain. And for you, who survived narcissistic abuse, this performance became a straitjacket that almost suffocated your soul. Now, when someone wants to visit your home, something inside you panics. Not because you don't like the person, not because you're rude, but because your subconscious identifies the visit as a demand for performance. Your mind triggers thoughts like, I'll have to pretend I'm okay. I need to clean everything perfectly. I have to prepare special food. I can't show that I'm still recovering. What if they notice I'm not the strong person everyone thinks I am? The narcissist taught you that your home was a showcase of his perfection, that every visit was an opportunity for him to shine, and you were just an accessory in the scenery. You internalize that receiving people means putting on a mask, hiding your true emotions, and ensuring everything seems perfect. But here's the truth that Wayne Dyer discovered. After narcissistic abuse, you develop an emotional allergy to falseness. Your body automatically rejects any situation that requires pretending. It's as if your emotional immune system were hyperactive, protecting you from any threat to your newly conquered authenticity. That's why you prefer to meet people in restaurants, parks, anywhere that isn't your home. In these public places, there's less pressure to be the perfect host. There are fewer expectations about your performance. You can simply be yourself with your limitations and imperfections. Your home, on the other hand, carries the symbolic weight of being your personal space. And personal spaces, in the mind of those who survived abuse, are places where performance should be more intense, not more relaxed. It's a cruel inversion of what should be natural, but it makes sense when we understand that you were conditioned to believe that intimacy means vulnerability, and vulnerability means danger. But there's something even deeper happening, something that touches the very essence of your nervous system. Wayne Dyer discovered something fascinating about people who went through toxic relationships. They developed what he called super-developed emotional antennas. You became a human detector of energies, hidden intentions, and emotional dangers. This isn't paranoia, it's pure survival wisdom. During years living with a narcissist, you were forced to develop almost supernatural abilities to detect mood changes, interpret micro-expressions, and anticipate emotional explosions. Your life depended on your capacity to read between the lines, perceive when the storm was coming, and protect yourself before the first lightning strike. Now, even away from the abuser, these antennas continue functioning at maximum power. When someone enters your home, you involuntarily scan every detail: the tone of voice, body posture, the gaze, the energy the person carries. It's exhausting, but your brain can't turn off this hypervigilance mode. Imagine that your mind is like a high-tech security system that was programmed to detect the slightest threat. Even when there's no real danger, the alarms keep going off. When visits arrive, you can't simply relax and enjoy the company. You're constantly analyzing if the person is being genuine, if there are second intentions, if something will go wrong. Wayne Dyer taught that this constant state of alert is a natural response of the organism to trauma. Your nervous system learned that people in your intimate space mean potential danger. That's why even loving and well-intentioned visits can trigger alarm signals in your body. You can even try to convince yourself rationally that you're safe, but your body doesn't believe it. It remembers all the times that trustworthy people hurt you. It remembers the false smiles that hid cruelty. It remembers the sweet words that preceded humiliations. That's why receiving visits isn't just socially challenging for you. It's physically exhausting. Your body produces cortisol and adrenaline as if you were facing a real threat. Your heart races, your breathing becomes shallow, your muscles tense up. It's as if you were preparing for a battle that only exists in your cellular memory. The tragedy is that people around you don't understand this. They see your reluctance to receive visits as coldness, antisocial behavior, or lack of manners. They can't comprehend that you're fighting an internal war between the desire for genuine connection and the desperate need for protection. Wayne Dyer always said, "When you understand that you're reacting to the past, not the present, you can begin to choose your responses consciously." But there's something even more painful than hypersensitivity, the loss of your authenticity. One of the most devastating things that narcissistic abuse does to you is steal your capacity to be authentic. Wayne Dyer said that our authenticity is our most precious asset, and when it's systematically attacked, something inside us dies. During the abusive relationship, every time you showed your true personality, you were punished. Every genuine opinion was ridiculed. Every real feeling was invalidated. Every aspect of your essence was gradually suppressed until you became an edited version of yourself, a copy approved by the narcissist. Now, in your home, you can finally take off that suffocating mask. You can wear the clothes you want, eat what you feel like, watch the programs you like, decorate your way. Your home became the only place where your authenticity can breathe freely. But when a visit arrives, panic sets in, because deep down, you still carry the toxic belief that your true personality isn't acceptable, that you need to modify your behavior, your opinions, even your decoration to be approved by others. You look at your home with the visitor's eyes, and suddenly everything seems wrong. The mess that was once freedom now seems like carelessness. The decoration style you chose seems questionable. The books on the shelf, the movies on television, the food in the refrigerator, everything becomes reason for potential judgment. Wayne Dyer observed that victims of narcissists develop a perception distortion about how others see them. You project onto other people the critical and judgmental voice that the narcissist implanted in your mind. Even when the visitor is kind and welcoming, you hear the abuser's voice whispering, "They're judging you. They know you're worthless. They're going to discover who you really are." That's why you prefer to meet people in neutral places. In a restaurant, cafe, or park, you're on neutral territory. Nobody is being a host. Nobody is exposing their intimacy. The focus is on conversation, on connection, not on judgment of your personal space. Your home became an extension of your wounded soul. Every object tells the story of your recovery. Every corner reflects a little piece of the person you're rediscovering. Allowing someone to enter this space is like opening your intimate diary for public reading. And here's something few understand. After narcissistic abuse, you no longer have tolerance for superficial relationships based on appearances. You want genuine connections, or you prefer solitude. There's no middle ground. Receiving conventional social visits where everyone pretends everything is fine and talks about trivial matters became unbearable. You want to talk about things that matter, or you prefer to stay silent. But there's an even deeper layer to this aversion to visits. Wayne Dyer discovered that one of the most basic needs of the human being after trauma is the sensation of control over their environment. And for you, who survived the chaos of a narcissistic relationship, this control became a matter of emotional survival. Remember what it was like living with the narcissist. You never knew what mood he would have when he came home. You could never predict if it would be a day of peace or war. Your home was like living on an active volcano. At any moment, everything could explode without warning. You lived in constant state of alert, never being able to completely relax in what should be your safest refuge. Your home stopped being a home and became an emotional war zone. Now that you've recovered this space, something powerful happened. For the first time in years, you have total control over your environment. You decide when to turn on music, what temperature to maintain, when to cook, when to rest. Every small decision is an act of freedom you didn't have before. When someone announces they're going to visit you, a primitive part of your brain panics because visits represent loss of control. Suddenly, you need to adapt your routine to someone else's schedule. You need to consider another person's preferences. You need to share your controlled space with external energies. Wayne Dyer observed that this isn't selfishness, it's self-preservation. Your nervous system learned that losing control of the environment means returning to the state of vulnerability that almost destroyed you. That's why you prefer to meet people outside your home. When you meet in a restaurant, for example, both are at the same level of limited control over the environment. Nobody is invading the other's territory. It's neutral territory where you can connect without triggering your invasion alarms. There's also another painful layer. During the abusive relationship, your home became the stage for the narcissist's performances. He loved showing visitors how he was the perfect husband or the exemplary father. He used your home as scenery for his farce, while you were forced to play the role of happy supporting actor. How many times did you have to smile for visitors while dying inside? How many times did you pretend everything was fine when you wanted to scream for help? How many times were you forced to validate his lies in front of others? These memories are engraved on the walls of your mind. That's why, when someone wants to visit, your subconscious relives that sensation of having to perform, of having to pretend, of having to maintain the facade. Your refusal to receive visits isn't about people. It's about protecting the only space where you no longer need to lie about who you are or how you feel. But there's something even deeper that needs to be understood. Wayne Dyer always talked about something that modern science is just beginning to understand. We are energetic beings who constantly absorb and transmit emotional vibrations. For someone who survived narcissistic abuse, this energetic sensitivity becomes amplified to the extreme. You developed what I call thin emotional skin. You can feel people's energy before they even open their mouths. You perceive tensions, frustrations, falsehoods, and hidden intentions as if they were perfumes in the air. This ability saved you countless times during the abusive relationship, but now it became a double-edged sword. Your home became your clean energy laboratory. Every object was chosen by you. Every space was energetically cleansed of the toxic vibrations of the past. You spent months, maybe years, purifying this environment of all the negative frequencies that the narcissist left impregnated in the walls. When someone enters this sacred space, they bring with them all the energetic baggage they carry. And it doesn't matter how good the person's intention is, if they're stressed, frustrated, anxious, or carrying any type of dense energy, you feel as if someone had poured mud into your crystalline pool. Wayne Dyer taught that highly sensitive people, especially those who went through trauma, function like emotional sponges. You absorb not just the words and actions of others, but also their underlying emotional states. That's why a visit of just a few hours can leave you exhausted for days. There's something even more subtle happening. You lost the capacity to maintain healthy, energetic boundaries. During the abusive relationship, your boundaries were violated so many times that now you oscillate between two extremes. Either you have non-existent boundaries, absorbing everything from others, or impenetrable boundaries, completely blocking people. At home, alone, you can regulate your own energy. You can meditate, listen to music that calms you, have your self-care rituals. It's like having an emotional spa where you reconnect with your essence. But when a visit arrives, even the most loving one, your home transforms into an energetic battlefield. You find yourself unconsciously monitoring the person's mood, trying to guess their unexpressed needs, absorbing their worries as if they were yours. The narcissist conditioned you to be responsible for others' emotional management. Now, even freed from that relationship, you still feel the automatic weight of having to care for energetically whoever is in your presence. That's why you prefer short meetings in public places. In these environments, there's less pressure for you to be the emotional manager of the situation. You can simply exist in the same space without feeling responsible for harmonizing all the energies present. It's a way to protect yourself while still allowing genuine human connection. But there's one last layer that needs to be revealed. Wayne Dyer said that after an abusive relationship, you're not just recovering, you're literally being reborn as a new person. And this process of identity reconstruction is extremely fragile, especially in the first years. Your home became the womb of this new version of you that's emerging. It's where you're rediscovering who you are when you're not under the critical and controlling gaze of a narcissist. Where you're learning to like things that were once forbidden, to have opinions that were once ridiculed, to express emotions that were once punished. When someone visits, there's always the unconscious risk of regressing to the previous version of you, the one that was molded by abuse. It's as if the presence of other people automatically reactivated the old behavior patterns that you fought so hard to overcome. You're afraid that, in the presence of others, you'll go back to being the person who always said yes when you wanted to say no, who smiled when you should cry, who minimized your needs to prioritize others' comfort, who nullified yourself to avoid conflicts. This new version of you is still learning to have your own voice, to express preferences, to occupy space without apologizing. It's like a new plant that needs very specific conditions to grow. Too much exposure too early can make it wither. Wayne Dyer observed that victims of narcissists go through a period he called social hibernation, a time necessary for the new identity to solidify before being able to expose itself again to the outside world in a healthy way. During the abusive relationship, you were constantly molded by the narcissist's expectations and demands. You completely lost the notion of who you were when you weren't trying to please or avoid conflicts. Now you're in the delicate process of rediscovering your authentic essence. Your home represents this self-knowledge laboratory. It's where you test new versions of yourself without fear of judgment or punishment, where you can make mistakes, correct yourself, experiment without having to give explanations to anyone. Receiving visits interrupts this sacred process of self-discovery. Suddenly you feel obligated to be a presentable version of yourself, even if this version isn't totally formed yet. That's why you prefer to meet people when you feel strong enough, when your new identity is solid enough not to fragment in the presence of others, when you're sure you won't regress to old patterns just to maintain social harmony. This isn't a process that can be rushed. It's like wanting a butterfly to leave the chrysalis before its time. It simply won't be ready to fly. Your aversion to visits is, actually, a wise protection instinct that ensures your transformation happens at the right time without external interferences that could compromise your healing. And this brings us to the final understanding. Wayne Dyer revolutionized our understanding of emotional rights when he said, "You have the sacred right to say no to anything that compromises your inner peace, even if others don't understand." Tidl. Your aversion to receiving visits isn't a defect to be corrected. It's ancestral wisdom that your body developed to protect your soul in the healing process. It's your emotional immune system functioning perfectly. Society conditioned you to believe that being sociable is a virtue and that avoiding people is a problem. But Wayne Dyer discovered that, for trauma survivors, periods of sacred solitude are essential for complete recovery. Your home became your healing temple, and you are the guardian of this sacred space. Just as a doctor wouldn't allow visits in an ICU without strict protocols, you have every right to protect your emotional recovery space. The narcissist taught you that you had no right to have preferences, boundaries, or your own needs, that your function was to serve, please, and sacrifice yourself for others. Now, every no you say is a revolutionary act of self-respect. When you refuse a visit, you're not being rude. You're practicing radical self-care. You're honoring your need for space, time, and energy to rebuild yourself. You're choosing your inner peace above social approval. Wayne Dyer observed that people who went through toxic relationships develop intuitive wisdom about what's healthy for them. Your body literally rejects situations that could compromise your newly conquered emotional stability. This doesn't mean you'll never have social life again. It means that now you consciously choose when, where, and how to connect with others, always prioritizing your emotional well-being. Your home is your sanctuary of authenticity. It's where you can be imperfect, vulnerable, human, without having to perform or please anyone. It's where you're learning to be your best friend after years of being your worst critic. Protecting this space isn't selfishness. It's wisdom. It's not coldness. It's self-love. It's not antisocial behavior. It's conscious selectivity. You have the right to heal in your time, your way, in your space, and anyone who truly loves you will respect and support this necessity, even if they don't completely understand. For years, you were forced to put others' needs before yours. You were conditioned to believe that saying no was selfishness and that your boundaries were negotiable. Now you're learning that establishing clear frontiers is an act of self-love. Wayne Dyer taught that our first responsibility is to ourselves. We can't give others what we don't have. If you don't take care of your energy, you won't have anything genuine to offer in your relationships. Your healing journey is unique, and you're the only person qualified to determine what you need at each moment. Wayne Dyer always said that true freedom begins when you stop justifying yourself to others and start honoring your deepest needs. Your aversion to receiving visits is a temporary symptom of a much larger healing process. With time, as you rebuild and strengthen your new identity, this extreme need for protection will naturally soften. You'll develop the capacity to receive people selectively when you feel you're emotionally prepared. But here's the most liberating truth. Even when you feel healed, you never again need to receive people out of social obligation. You learned the invaluable worth of your inner peace and have every right to protect it for the rest of your life. Your home will continue being your sacred refuge. The difference is that in the future, you'll be able to choose to share this space with people who truly resonate with your energy, who respect your boundaries, and who add value to your life. You're learning the difference between solitude and loneliness. Solitude is a conscious choice to be alone to nourish and know yourself better. Loneliness is a feeling of emptiness and disconnection. Your journey taught you that it's better to be alone in peace than accompanied in conflict. And that's wisdom that many people take a lifetime to understand. The narcissist made you believe you didn't deserve to have preferences, that your feelings didn't matter, that your only function was to serve others. Now you're rebuilding a healthy relationship with yourself, where your needs are priority. Every day that you choose to protect your energy is a day that you're telling the universe, I love myself enough to protect myself. And that's revolutionary after years of sacrificing yourself for someone who never valued you. Remember, you don't need to explain, justify, or apologize for protecting your energy. You don't owe anyone anything beyond basic respect, and that doesn't include unrestricted access to your home or your presence. You're free to choose who, when, and how to receive in your sacred space. And this freedom of choice is the greatest gift you can give yourself. Your home is your temple, you are the guardian, and you deserve all the peace you conquered.